Hi folks, Rob back. It's another Rob Plays, and this week we're doing one which I've wanted to do for a while, and that is Ace 2088, developed and published by Cascade Software in 1988 or 89. The basic idea, it is the year 2088, and you are basically the main officer on the Deliverance, a Federation starship deployed to clear out some 32 systems of hostile forces and bring freedom to a whole bunch of space people. So the basic idea is you start off on the deck, and what we're looking at is the star chart view, and you can basically move between systems, and you can see how many worlds are hostile and allied. For stars, we're just going to stay in the base system, in this starting system. We go to system view, and we can see that there are four planets here, all flagged as hostile. So I'm going to stay here, and well, let's get to it. Oops, fighter. So you can arm your fighter with things like long-range missiles, rear fire, which are lock-on and home missiles that fire from the front. You've got rear-firing missiles. You've also got fusion bombs, which you'll need to take out enemy bases on the world. You've got rear-firing missiles that are fire and forget from the rear. You've got a rapid recharger, which helps your weapons firing rate, and you've got heavy shielding, which is very essential. Now, so let's take off in our first Zig, our Ziegler Mark II. We've got control, and our basic objective here really is to get to the planet, like blockade. I'm under blockade of enemy fighters, so I've just taken 3 out there. They seem really easy early on, anyway. So we're just going to cruise towards the planet, pretty much avoiding enemy fire, not take damage. So also you've got your instrumentation cluster, gives you elapsed mission time, some stats on your speed, shielding. Then you've got mirrors of your computer displays. The left being your scanner, which you can also alternate to a weapons display, and your sort of computer log. But anyway, like I said, the idea here is really to just break the blockade and get to the enemy planet. So there's sort of unlimited numbers of enemy fighters. They don't just dissipate. So we're going to make an approach to the planet, get some speed up, and we've now made it a planet. We're entering orbit. Well, we've gone from orbit to descending into Atmo. So once we settle down in Atmo, we regain control. The next phase is for us to locate and take out the star bases. So we hit B, and that gives us our bomb site. So let's line up. See that little arrow next to the clock? Now that lines up forward, means we're on bearing for the first base. And now we've just got to line it up, drop a bomb, and we've taken the base out. But now each planet has a number of bases to destroy, and you can only carry 4 bombs. So if you mess it up, you're probably going to have to redo it again. So anyway, I'm on course for the next base. I might have got that. Yeah! 2 down. Bomb armed. So there's actually, when you look at what Ace and Ace 2 did before it, this actually is a very interesting take on what those games did. Okay, that's the 3rd base down. I think there's one more here. So you've actually got to do a run of 4. And what Ace and Ace 2 did being alright. We've got to leave orbit. We've got to leave orbit and get more bombs. So I'm going to break orbit. Now I'm heading back to the Deliverance. And now I'm back on the Deliverance. I'm going to get my second Zig, which I'm going to, I don't care. I know it's Ziegler 2, but I'm going to call it Zig. And that's going to make, and if you're like me, that's going to make you think of certain infamous mashups. Anyway, we've got our fighters armed. Fighter 1 has returned. Cool. So I'll take Fighter 2 to the surface, and we will go down and find the rest of those bases. One thing I don't like is that the game's not really good about telling you like stats, like this planet has X bases to destroy. I really wish it did that so you could plan a bit better. That's a bit poor for a strategic aspect, and for a game like this with 100 planets to liberate, that's actually something that's a bit of an annoyance. Alright, there we are, entering low orbit. And let's go find those last remaining bases. Stand by. There really isn't a lot of sound here. No music, especially coming after Ace 2 with that ever so sublime Rob Hubbard soundtrack. There is not much here at all, and it really feels limiting. Ooh. Like, I kind of wish there was some more music. I wish there was more sound effects. Yes. Okay. One more base down. Like, I wish the game told you a little better about, you know, how many bases there are, how many fighters there are. Because it means you get trapped in this sort of ultra repetitive loop. Anyway, you can line up, get the next base. Another bomb down. Because the idea is when you take out all the bases, you're told you're resupplied, so you get a bunch of extra supplies, and then really at that point the system is I'm out of bombs again, and I haven't destroyed the base. This is it's a little frustrating because the game is not really giving you good feedback here. Alright, so I'm back at base. I'm going to arm Zig 3. See, I like the idea of this, like this sort of whole protracted thing of, you know, a force behind enemy lines without a lot of resources, having to take on, you know, an entire system filled with rebel scum. So that aspect of the game I really like. But what would have been really interesting as well, like in all seriousness, was actually knowing, oh, this is how much resources they're fielding in battle. But okay, Fighter 2's back online. Alright, oh, I took one out. He was scurrying to the planet and I took him out. Now I've got this rear missile fired. Another enemy down. So let's go through. There we go. We're entering orbit, and let's go for another pass. Hey? Alright. Like, I really wish it said, like, oh, there's X bases left or something. It would have made so much to be able to plan, like, what you're doing. Base destroyed. Why do I feel like I'm circling around the same base? It's telling me it's destroyed. Base destroyed. Oh yes! We cleared the planet! Heading for mothership. So we have successfully cleared out a system. So if we go to our system map, we are going to see that this planet is now allied. So I'm going to move to this planet, adjust my orbit. Oh, all fighters must be in hangar. Okay. So we're waiting for Zig number 3 to return, which it just has. We're going to adjust to planet 1 and we're going to orbit. So we'll move the Deliverance to this next planet. Now we're in orbit, we will go to the fighter bay. Now Zig 3 is being refueled and repaired, so I'm going to arm Zig 1 for another pass. And get ourselves ready to go. And so there isn't a great complexity scheme. It's sort of the classic, you know, old game formula of play a game repeatedly and, you know, have a fairly simple action and do it lots of times. Now, that's a perfectly fine thing to have. Like, you know, you are talking about fairly limited home computers. And I mean, it does feel a little weird from time to time. Anyway, we should be approaching orbit now. I will make sure I'm locked in. Entering low orbit. And there we go. So, like, I remember I was doing some checking this morning when I was, making sure all my review notes were together and whatnot. And one of the things I was interested by was the fact that this really didn't do that. Really didn't do that well. Oh, all right, let's slow down. You got to be a lot slower when dealing bombs, which really makes sense, Really makes sense here. So let's line up. Let's get next target up here. It's in range. Base destroyed. So let's lock onto the next one and blast it. Base destroyed. So we've got one more bomb here. I would love to see about doing the system. We may just do a couple of planets. One of the things the game talks about, but obviously you've got to do a lot of work to get that far in. Now we're out of bombs, so let's break orbit with the M key, and then we will use that to return to Deliverance. In a way, this is really what the game's about. It's this very short loop, and I kind of appreciate that. You've got to learn to be efficient with your resources so that you can, so you gain them from other... I went to exit instead of arm. Okay. Cool. Alright, so we exit. Let's launch number 2. And like I said, I think the game loop is pretty tight here. It's a very short loop. There's not a map. I think when you compare it to the original Ace, which I think this has a lot more in common with than Ace 2, there's very much this sort of strike, go back to base and repair, strike, go back to base and repair game loop. Ace 2, of course, was really about that head-to-head confrontation, and really suffered unless you had a friend to play with. There we are, we're entering orbit. Let's go find some more bases. So one of the things that's interesting when you're in space is it's very much modeled on the elite school of space navigation. So you rotate from the top, just put, oh no, we've got to fix speed here. But you've got that sort of elite school of navigation where you rather than yaw and pitch, you're rolling and base destroyed. Yeah, I think you're doing like a multi-pass run. Okay, let's turn around. Yeah, that's the only. Yeah, you can only drop one bomb at a time. You can't really do sort of, ground bomb carpeting is whatever they used to call it. Okay, 3. Last bomb in this run. Yeah, they do take a lot of bombs. Well, these planets have lots of... Okay. Let's return to base because we've run out of bombs, so we'll need to grab another fighter and fly down. And I like the detail here, this whole aspect of actually coming in, breaking what I can't think of many space games on the 64 that really did that. You might have had, you have Starflight, but it was really, that sort of exploration-y kind of gameplay, so a little different. I mean, you could almost consider what Skyfox, the original Skyfox did between high-level aerial combat and low-level ground combat to be along those lines, but maybe not enough. You can't go too fast to fight enemies. That seems to be a rule of the game here. Alright, so let's... Anyway, make sure we're locked in for the planet. We are entering orbit. And we can go for another pass. Okay, stand by. Bombs are armed. Okay. Probably want to duck a little bit more so so the instrumentation cluster isn't contrasting with the background so badly. Oh, we're off target. Stay on target. Bombs away. Yeah, we must be doing a pass like with a large number of bombs on a single base, which is kind of distracting. Anyway, ready for the next pass? Bombs away. And let's come by for the next pass. I'll line up first, okay. Line up. Coming for the next pass. Bombs away. Base destroyed. So slow. I think that's something that does not work in the game's favour. Alright, we're out of bombs, so let's get out of here. I think it's something that doesn't work in the game's favour, where you have to do this many passes. I mean, I honestly feel that what they needed to do would have been to have fewer. Like, I would rather have had something where, when you come to the planet, you have a lot more. You have a lot more gameplay involved in actually doing the runs. Launch. Okay, so Fighter 1 is go. Let's get some speed up. Okay. Let's set ourselves to the planet. Like, I wish there was sort of a lot more to that loop, but again, we're probably hitting the limits of 8-bit computer hardware, so your mileage might vary. Anyway, come on, get some speed up. Fighter 3 is repaired. We're entering orbit. I think I might call it after this particular video, just because, honestly, there really isn't much more to the loop. We've sort of seen what the game loop is. So let's switch to bombs. Line ourselves up with the target vector. Which we've done. Oh, whoops. There's a dot in the scope. Drop the bomb. Base destroyed. Drop a bomb. It sort of gets a little fatiguing that it takes this many tries and this many runs to actually destroy a base. Like, it shouldn't take. What is this? Is this the third pass? So 12 bombs. I think that's a bit. It's sort of my one real complaint with the game, I think. Base destroyed and we're out of bombs, so let's leave. Let's leave orbit. Let's return to the Deliverance. And like I said, this is sort of where the game falls a little flat for me. The fact that you have to do this much fighter 2, second fighter. It just feels a little limiting, where it's like, okay, because at the end of the day, exit, launch fighter 2. At the end of the day, I think it just becomes draining when this is really all you can do, where you just got to take this, like this many passes on a planet. Like, I would rather have had it that you do one pass, but you have more to do before you make it, rather than this very short sequence that you repeat over and over and over again. Again, that's a personal preference. You are, of course, entitled to have different opinions. And heck, I would love to hear them, actually. You know, if you sat down and watched this, you know, you've made it most of the way through this. I mean, I think if I can get this planet liberated, I'll probably call it quits here. But if you made it, watch this, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Like, from a perspective of, you know, like, what do you think about what I'm saying here? Regardless, you know, the going for a longer mission that you only need to do once versus this shorter, do this thing multiple times, like we are doing here. Because this to me, I don't know, I feel that while I appreciate the game and I like a lot of it, I feel it's just a little too much on the repetitive scale. Before we do, we're out of bombs, so back to space. And back to Deliverance. Heading for the mothership. Back to the Deliverance. Okay. Because then what happens, you know, this is an interesting question, right? We are slowly consuming our fusion bombs. So what happens when we run out? We're going to be this game's going to be unwinnable. So that is again, that's some interesting game design problems that it has. Just have a think about that too. So yeah, it's funny when I sat down to pick this, you know, I consult my list, my collection list, and I thought, ooh, I really wanted to do Ace 2088, and I had a quick play again because before doing it, I played it a bit before, and I felt very excited. So I sat down and played it, and I thought, yeah, I really should go do a video on it someday because I don't think anyone else has, and I'm sure that no one really has done it to this extent. You know, of actually nice, curated, this is how the game works kind of thing, that I like what I do here. But yeah, playing it like for this extended run, because I'm sitting here, you know, 20 minutes in, and I have to admit that it does kind of it feels like a concept that is solid, and it's a fairly nice little concept, but the execution does leave a little thing to be desired because it just loops over so much. Anyway. Is our target on scope? There it is. Bomb dropped. Base destroyed. Come on. Base destroyed. Come on. Lined up. Yeah, it's coming down the pipeline. Drop a bomb. Yes. Oh. It's one of those games that if it misreads the keyboard, I'll tell you otherwise. Okay. Dropped bomb. Bomb armed. Okay. And we're out of bombs. You know what? I think I'm going to call it here. Let's go back to Deliverance and I'll call it here. Because really, I think I've shown the game loop of what Ace 2088 is. You know, from what I've played, there's not really much more in the game. You're just going to a system, going to each planet, doing a number of runs until you destroy all the bases, and move on. That's a pretty simple game concept. The execution's fine, but it just drags out a little bit, as you've seen here. And I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something about a game that, again, is not one of those that really gets talked about. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially on this stuff about the design that I was talking about. I don't know what your thoughts are, but sitting here playing this now, it really makes me think that a longer mission run that you didn't have to play as often would have been more interesting than this shorter loop that you kept repeating. Likes are always appreciated. They help get the channel, you know, get a lot more visibility of the videos in front of people. You know, all the robots and algorithms. And of course, new videos come out Friday, so if you like what I'm doing here, do click that subscribe button, turn on the notifications maybe, and, you know, show another little sign of support for what I'm doing. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you all next time.